and a warm welcome to Agric today on ARSN TV, Mabushi, Abuja, Nigeria. I am Khadija Oluwatoyin Amin. This week, we shall examine the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, inaugurating the National Taskforce (NTF) on the European Union Deforestation Regulation to ensure Nigerians' compliance with the regulation on deforestation-free agricultural products to boost the economy.
In a simple definition, deforestation can be seen as removal of forests or destruction of forests by human activities. In the sense that when you cut down the tree that can give us benefits like reducing the effect of wind, and sometimes it serves as a shade for farmer to relax after an hectic work. So you can call that as deforestation, cutting down of trees and destroying the environment. Effects are enormous, but I will just mention few of them. First and foremost, as human beings on the farm working, we need oxygen to work. And from the little knowledge that we know in school, they told us that the trees and the plant around, they make use of carbon dioxide to produce their food, and they give us oxygen, which we breathe in as human beings, even and animals too. So as a farmer, if you are cutting down trees, it will not help you to survive. And you need this air in you to be a living being, to be able to carry out your farming activities. So that is one of the effects. Also, the trees around us are the ones that are helping us to break down the effect of strong winds. Some of them can come, they will blow our farm away in form of erosion. That I believe all the farmers understand the word erosion. So they know that erosion is very destructive to our farm work. So if trees are still planted in between our farm. It will serve as a breakage from the winds that are blowing around to destroy our farm. So another effect that we can see is that when the trees are cut down, the volume of oxygen in the atmosphere that we needed to survive will be reduced. And the trees are the one producing the oxygen. So if trees are cut down, we have more of carbon dioxide, which human being, an animal, doesn't need. So it will bring about increase in the greenhouse gas effect in the atmosphere, which is not good for our environment. And also, it leads to what we call climate change. These days, everybody is shouting about climate change, but all our activities are the one that is adding more effect to this climate change. Cutting down of trees, urbanization. When we want to build a particular estate, we clear all the trees and we will start our construction. Sometimes our mining, when we want to mine some things from the ground, we'll cut down all the trees around. Those are impacts that we can feel. They are the one causing the word deforestation. When we remove all the leaves, the trees around us. I will advise farmers, instead of cutting down the tree, they can reduce the branches so that it will help the plant to get the sunlight which they need to grow. They don't need to cut it down, because those trees that we see, they help in protecting the crops too. Like some of our crops that are climbers, like our yam, they will need something to twist their stem on so that they can grow more. So if all the trees are cut down, how will they crop to get sunlight and produce more yam tubers that we needed? So it is advisable for them not to cut the trees, but they should reduce the branches. Also, we can advise farmers that they should plant crops that are sunlight tolerant. There are some crops that when you plant them, even they just need little of sunlight. It's not necessarily that they should be under the sun. Your maize, your cowpea doesn't need too much of sun like your millet, because there are other factors that need to be considered when you plant, like rainfall. So that is that on that. And I will advise them, they should clamor for community land rights. The community should own the land, so that if strangers come in to cut down their trees, they can mitigate that. Now, don't cut down these trees. It will affect the community. It will break down our houses. By the time winds come, there's no tree to break down the effect of the winds. And because, most of the time, the lumberers, they go to the village where there are no government hand, and they will cut down their trees and cause a lot of calamities. And also, we should preach unity. They should reduce war against community. When they are fighting, they are shooting guns, they are throwing a lot of weaponry. Some of them affect the trees, that the tree will be removed, destroyed, and a lot of this will happen.
Speaking during the event held at the ministry's conference room in Abuja, the minister said that the inauguration of NTF was a strategic step towards addressing issues in alignment with the EUDR. Senator Kyari added that the deforestation and forest degradation were significant contributors to climate change and biodiversity loss. The minister revealed that the EUDR came into effect on June 29, 2023 with a mandatory compliance deadline of December 2024. He noted that regulation targets commodities associated with high deforestation risk, including timber, soya, palm oil, coffee, cocoa, and cattle, along with derived produce such as chocolate, leather, tires, and furniture. He described the European Union as a major trade partner, saying non-compliance with the EUDR would severely impact Nigeria's export markets for cocoa, rubber, soya, and timber, which accounts for 80%, 7%, 5% respectively of Nigeria's €523 million export trade. He therefore appealed for extension of the deadline to ensure more countries' compliance with the regulation of EUDR. The minister also stressed the importance of collaboration to establish a central national database for traceability and certification, as well as forest mapping and due diligence to ensure deforestation-free products. He highlighted Ghana's progress in mapping 1.2 million farms and preparing to trace cocoa beans from farms to ships, while also pointing out that Nigeria would follow suit and avoid lagging in compliance. The minister urged the NTF to work with both government and private sector stakeholders to meet these standards and to secure Nigeria's position in the global market. Let's take a listen.
I am pleased to welcome you to the inauguration of the National Taskforce on European Union Deforestation Regulation, EUDR. This event is the culmination of enormous collective efforts at the National Cocoa Management Committee, development partners, and other critical value chain stakeholders towards Nigeria's compliance with EUDR. Ladies and gentlemen, because deforestation and forest degradation are among the main drivers of climate change and biodiversity loss, the Deforestation Regulation by EU entered into force on 29 June 2023 and was given an 18-month implementation period of December 2024. According to the EU, the commodities that present the most deforestation risk are timber, soya, palm oil, coffee, cocoa, and cattle, as well as selected derived products such as chocolate, leather, tires, and furniture. The EU, based on the above, emphasized that any company intending to place these commodities in the EU market or export from the EU will be subjected to a set of mandatory due diligence rules. Also, only deforestation-free product that is not subject to deforestation or forest degradation after 31st December 2020 and legal products according to domestic laws of the country of origin will be allowed into the EU market. With an annual non-oil export trade of €523 million, the European Union is indeed not only a major trade partner but also the loss of the market due to non-compliance with EUDR presents a great threat to the cocoa, rubber, soya, and timber value chains that constitute 80%, 7%, 7%, and 5% respectively of the €523 million export trade. Beyond the loss of incomes and livelihoods and the attendant socio-economic headwinds to the several millions of farmers and value chain operators in the target agricultural value chains, the anticipated reduction in non-oil foreign exchange receipts will further impair the already deteriorating Naira-dollar exchange rates. As members of the NTF and EU on EUDR, we have an extremely urgent, important duty ahead. Therefore, we can no longer afford to be working in silos. This is a national task, and meeting the target set before us is a task we must jointly achieve. Both individuals, government, and private sector operators in this room must work together in unity with common aims and objectives in meeting the demand set before us as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all gathered in this room after a careful selection process to achieve success in all agricultural value chains facing this possible ban. It is pertinent to note that mapping of our forest areas that was last achieved in 1959 and need for a national traceability system across our agricultural value chains is of utmost importance. As I am aware, we have amongst this task force representatives of bodies with capacity to ensure polygon mapping of our forest areas within the shortest possible time. There are also various companies and state actors working tirelessly on meeting the deadlines set by EU either directly or indirectly. We are also aware that EU has funding opportunities the NTF can explore to ensure mapping of our forested areas. Therefore, this body comprising of all major players in the affected agricultural value chains must get our acts together and come up with a unified national strategy and framework in line with the terms of reference of the NTF towards meeting the deadline. Though this task is coming a bit late, it is said better late than never, and based on our resilience as a nation, when we come together, we can achieve anything. NTF must therefore show strength in the present predicament we have found ourselves. The membership of the NTF and the EUDR is as follows. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Chairman. Federal Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Member. All the others are members, I'll just read. Federal Minister of Industry and Trade and Investment, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Standard Organization of Nigeria, Federal Produce Inspectorate Service, Forest Research Institute of Nigeria, Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria, Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service, Rainforest Alliance, Traceability and Resilience in Agriculture and Cocoa Ecosystems, International Labour Organization, Olam Food Ingredients, Olatunde International Limited, Sunbirth Global Concepts, Tulip Cocoa Processing Limited, International Cocoa Diplomacy, Cocoa Farmers Association of Nigeria, Cocoa Association of Nigeria, Federation of Agricultural Commodity Association of Nigeria, Zoacell Nigeria, Harvestfield Industries Nigeria Limited, National Cocoa Management Committee, 5 members as members and the Secretariat, African Export-Import Bank member, European Union, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, International Finance Corporation, World Bank Group, Starling Global and Ideal Limited, Hula Advisor, Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, the terms of reference of National Task Force includes the following. Coordination of relevant stakeholders towards having a national approach on EUDR. 2. Design, implementation, and funding strategy for National Task Force on EUDR. 3. Review and adopt state plan for nationwide implementation. 4. Drive a sustainable advocacy and sensitization program on EUDR. 5. Improve EUDR readiness of the sustainable cocoa value chain by December 2024. 6. Create comprehensive GIS infrastructure for cocoa production, digitization, and profiling of all value chain actors and other traceability dimensions. 7. Accelerate the remapping and gazetting of protected forest reserves. 8. Develop agroforestry culture for sustainable and diversified wealth creation. 9. Engage EU on possibility of deadline extension. 10. Develop the strategy and infrastructure for carbon credit processing. 11. Drive a sustainable advocacy and sensitization program on EUDR. 12. Coordinate sensitization, advocacy, and training of all value chain actors from production to markets. It is noteworthy to emphasize here that Ghana, one of the world's largest exporters of cocoa, has already set the ball rolling by mapping 1.2 million farms so far and has said it can start tracking cocoa beans from farms to ships next month. Nigeria cannot be lagging behind. We must therefore make efforts to ensure compliance, even as we are determined to exploit other markets outside Europe such as China, Russia, Belarus, that have indicated interest in buying Nigerian origin cocoa beans. As you may be aware, the European Union has taken steps to communicate with various agencies, parastatals, and private sector actors, thereby exploiting our silo operational culture. Nevertheless, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security responded by inviting the EU to conduct pre-assessment check and notifying them of the need for extension of the deadline as done for other countries. However, we have not had formal response to that communication. The EU further engaged consultants who had meetings with the National Cocoa Management Committee and various other stakeholders stating their area of interest in cocoa, rubber, livestock, and wood value chains. This is itself a pointer that through the establishment of the NTF on EUDR by the federal government of Nigeria, the EU has a unified body to engage on achieving the EU targeted deadline. Ladies and gentlemen, recent calls by the German government on the back of other Latin American nations and indeed the United States of America and India that the regulation be suspended for its impractical requirements and drastic bureaucratic burden on companies, and the call by the Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, for the European Union to rethink deforested goods ban and its impact on global trade is a pointer to the risks and burdens on the impending sanctions. The International Cocoa Organization, comprising of all cocoa producing nations at the recently concluded meeting, unequivocally called for a 2-year postponement of the EUDR deadline. I therefore use this opportunity to join the call for the suspension of the EUDR. Finally, fellow NTF members, we have a great task ahead, and I believe our cooperation and joint efforts will bring about the desired central national database for traceability, certification, forest mapping, legality, and due diligence necessary to guarantee evidence-free deforestation and free agricultural products.
The Permanent Secretary of the Minister, Mr. Peter Fashidemi, represented by the Director, Federal Department of Agriculture Engineer Abubakar Abdullahi, stated the Ministry's support to the NTF towards achieving its mandates in line with the renewed hope agenda in the agriculture sector.
The impetus to really work hard to see that we have achieved the aim and objective of why the task force has been set up. On this note, I want to sincerely extend the Ministry's appreciation for the quick response. Despite your busy schedules, you find yourself here today. So I want to sincerely welcome you all to this occasion. Thank you very much.
The National Task Force terms of reference include coordination of relevant stakeholders towards having a national approach on EUDR, design implementation and funding strategy for National Task Force on EUDR, review and adoption of plan for nationwide implementation, create comprehensive GIS infrastructure for cocoa production, digitization and profiling of all value chain actors and other traceable dimensions, engage EU on the possibility of deadline extension, amongst others. And that's it for this week. I hope this news is applauding one to the government. Achieving its full, what are we saying?